especially I'm working on practicing more than I've ever practiced before, and hopefully in crazy ways. I went down to the river and I practiced by the river for one song, and then I got cold, so I went and practiced in the back of a car. I practiced lying down on my back in bed. I did a thing where it was sort of like I was breaking up like I would put away some laundry and then I would practice, and then I would like make lunch and then I would practice, just like I would keep breaking up tasks throughout the day with like 5 minutes of practicing or something. I practiced just singing on my way to the bus without having the guitar, and I started a spreadsheet of the practicing. So yes, that's been my big challenge. I definitely have practiced more than I have maybe ever in one time, like since I started learning guitar maybe. And I was just reading this morning part of one of the books that's on the Rubicon book list. It's called The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten, and he was talking about how, you know, music is a language, and you know, like, when did you become fluent in English when talking? You know, your first language is like, oh, probably about 4 or 5. I would say I was fluent, and but you've been practicing music for like how much longer than that, and how come you're not fluent yet? The one aspect of it is that you were listening to people speaking English all the time, and you're listening to music all the time. But the thing with the speaking was that you got to jam with other people, you got to practice talking and just do it all the time, and you don't really get to jam with musicians all the time necessarily, and so it's like putting on a CD of like a great person that you love and like play with them, like have a conversation of music recorded. And I really just loved that idea, and in the book and during that music lesson it was really about listening and playing, and so I'm curious to see how that affects both my practicing and my music fluency. Well, I feel like I have a bazillion books spread out all over the house, or different backpacks or whatever, because there's a lot of books. And so yes, there are many books on it. One that I did actually complete already is Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, which is a really great one, talking about crappy first drafts. And that really, even just that phrase, like, may have been the best takeaway from the whole book for me, because it's like not just crappy first drafts in writing, it's like crappy first draft open mic, just anything, like when it started feeling like, I don't know if I can do this, just do a crappy version first, and then you'll be okay. Another one that I've gotten a big chunk of the way through is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. He did the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and it's a pretty fat one. I've gone through it a couple times doing something called photo reading, which is another thing that Dan's taught us, where you just really there's a technique to it, but you basically skim through the book and just pick out the important parts, because one of the theories of that is that when you read a whole book, you usually only get, 14% of it or something anyways, and so if you can get that much just by skimming it in a 30-minute session, like, you'll get a lot of value out of reading it that way. So I've done the photo reading a couple times on that book, and then I also have been just reading it snail pace, and getting a lot out of that. It's books from every single aspect of life and music. So there's some of it's music lessons or voice lessons, and some of it's just like being successful and being confident, and I kind of just pick books up at a time, and I always get something out of it, and I've never had like 4 or 5 books that I'm working on all at the same time before, so that's an interesting experience. One thing that I worked on this week was playing with a heavier weighted pick, which changes the sound and changes a little bit of what I have to do, and also working on my strumming and just keeping it coming from the bigger muscles instead of just with my wrist. Dan was saying, like, that's gonna, like, you can do this for a few songs, but for like a whole set, your arm's gonna get tired. And so and it was amazing in just a few minutes. It felt really weird, and it still feels a little weird, but like, just a few minutes of him being like, no, this isn't hard, you can do it. And hearing the sound being much cleaner and stronger and good was like a really, it was a really good experience to have. And like you're saying, you know, like, this is fine, you're singing the song, you're doing good, but if we're working towards professional, which we are, like, here's a few little tricks, you know, that are just gonna keep leveling it up, so.